All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a real-life evolutionary mystery. It's all about how this one super common bird might actually be splitting into a whole new species, like right now, as we speak.
So here's how we're going to crack this case. We'll start with a dead end that had everyone stumped. Then we'll get our hands on a new tool, a molecular clock. We'll use it to look at the evidence, connect all the dots, and then we'll hit a final, really big question about mutation.
Okay, first up, the speciation dead end. Because every good mystery starts with a problem you just can't seem to solve by just looking. And the problem is one of the biggest questions in all of biology. How do new species actually form? I mean, we talk about evolution all the time, but what does it actually look like when one species starts to become two? So let's meet our subjects. We've got these little birds called juncos. There's a population that lives up in the mountains, and then there's this other group that pretty recently set up shop on the campus of UC San Diego. And you can see they look different, they act different. So the big question is, are we watching speciation happening in real time?
But this is where we hit a wall, a dead end. See, we know their differences, things like their behavior or the shape of their wings, are heritable. But that's not enough. The real test of a species is reproductive isolation. Can they still interbreed? And that's a question you just can't answer by looking at them. It's a total dead end for observation alone.
Okay, so if looking isn't enough, we need a new tool, a way to peek behind the curtain. We need to figure out how to tell time, evolutionarily speaking.
Right. So this is where the investigation takes a huge turn. We shift from asking, how are they different, to how long have they been apart? Because, the longer they've been separated, the more different their DNA should be. But how on earth do you measure that time?
Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It's found in this special bit of DNA called mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA. The best way to think about it is like a tiny ticking clock inside their cells. It's passed down only from the mother, and it collects these little random changes, mutations, at a surprisingly steady rate. And here's the beautiful part. It's just so logical. The more time two populations have been apart, the more ticks of that clock have happened, which means more mutations, more genetic difference. So if we can count the differences, we can basically tell how long they've been on their own separate paths.
Now, this isn't just a guess. In the classroom, students actually model this whole process. They can literally calculate how these genetic differences pile up over generations. It's a hands-on way to see how this molecular clock isn't just an idea. It's a tool you can actually use to connect DNA differences to time.
Okay, so now we've got our brand new tool, the molecular clock. It's time to stop talking theory and start cracking the genetic code with some real evidence.
And here is our crime scene, spread out across a continent. Scientists went out and collected blood and feather samples from juncos all over North America and Mexico. This map shows where all that evidence came from. It's a huge undertaking.
So before we dive into the DNA, there's one key term we gotta know, haplotype. It sounds super technical, but it's not. Just think of it as a unique genetic fingerprint. It's a specific pattern of mutations in that mtDNA that lets us trace a distinct family line all the way down the maternal side. And here it is. This is what the evidence looks like. The researchers found 15 different haplotypes, 15 unique fingerprints among all those juncos. Each of those colored bands you see represents a different mutation. This is literally the raw data for building the Junco family tree.
So now it's time to play detective. The job is to compare these haplotypes. Which populations have the most similar genetic fingerprints? Which ones are wildly different? This is how we start to map out who's related to who.
And once you start organizing all that data, boom, patterns just jump out at you. For example, look at this. Sites 2 and 3, they share the exact same haplotype. They're super closely related. But then you look at a place like Site 19 and whoa, it has the most diversity of all. That's a huge clue that it might be an ancient ancestral population. And this is the magic of this genetic analysis. We're connecting the dots. We're not just looking at two bird populations anymore. We are assembling the entire evolutionary story of the Junco. So, putting all the pieces together, the DNA, the geography, we can make some really big claims. All these Juncos across North America, they're all related, going back to a common ancestor. Their diversification happened super fast, right after the last ice age. And what drove it? Being geographically isolated from each other. The evidence is just screaming that new species are in the process of forming. And here's the big takeaway. This entire investigation adds a crucial piece to our model of evolution.
It's not just about natural selection working on existing traits. We've now added mutation to the board. This is how new genetic information gets created in the first place.
But of course, like in any good mystery, solving one puzzle just reveals an even deeper one: the engine of evolution itself.
And it leaves us with this incredible paradox. Think about it for a second. If natural selection is always removing variations that don't work, and sexual reproduction just reshuffles the genes that are already there, shouldn't variation, eventually disappear? Where does it all come from? And that is the final huge question. Where does new, heritable variation come from in the first place? And the answer has been right in front of us the whole time. It's mutation. It's not just random error, it is the engine. It's the source of everything new in evolution.
And there you have it. That's our look at how a single lesson can unpack the incredible story of evolution. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.